Very good evening. You're watching Primetime News on TV1 live and direct from our Newsfirst studios in Colombo. Bringing you the news, I'm Jadabdin.
And I'm Hirani Karunaratna. Here are tonight's top stories. Former intelligence chief Suresh Saleh arrested by CID over Easter attacks probe. Detained for 72 hours for questioning. Ex-intelligence officer seeks court order to prevent his arrest. Avant-garde petitions dismissed without hearing. Law applies equally to all, says Minister Lanka. Second gunman in Akureguda lawyer assassination arrested in Monaragala. Daisy Forest released. Charges now only against Yoshita Rajapaksa in money laundering case. Sampath Manamperi moved to remand from detention.
And on to those stories in detail. In your top story this evening, former State Intelligence Service Director, retired Major General Sirasa Saleh, who was arrested this morning in connection with the Easter Sunday terror attack investigations, is now being questioned under a 72-hour detention order. He was taken into custody in Paliaguda by a team from the Criminal Investigation Department.
At the time of the Easter Sunday terror attacks on the 21st of April 2019, Suresh Saleh, then a brigadier, was serving as an advisor at the Sri Lankan High Commission in Malaysia. Before that, he served as the Director of Military Intelligence. Police stated that the arrest was made based on independent evidence.
අත්අඩංගුවට ගැනීමට හේතුපාදක වූයේ පාස්කු ප්‍රහාරය සම්බන්ධයෙන් කරනු ලබන විමර්ශනවල ප්‍රතිඵල වලට සමගාමීව අනාවරණ වී ඇති පැහැදිලි සාක්ෂි මත අද දින මෙම සැකකරු අත්අඩංගුවට අරගෙන තියෙනවා. මෙම සැකකරු අපරාධ පරීක්ෂණ දෙපාර්තමේන්තුවේ ඉදිරි විමර්ශන කටයුතු සඳහා යොමු කරනවා.
ඇතුලේ දැන් මේ අත්අඩංගුවට අරන් තියෙන සාමාන්‍ය කෙනෙක් නෙමෙයි. ඉහළම තනතුරක්. මොන වගේ සම්බන්ධතාවයන්ද මේ සැකකරු සහ පාස්කුවෙන් ත්‍රස්ත ප්‍රහාර සම්බන්ධයෙන් තිබිලා තියෙන්නේ?
මේ පාස්කු ප්‍රහාරයට යම්කිසි සම්බන්ධ දෙනකොට සාක්ෂි තිබෙන නිසායි අතුරු අරන් තියෙන්නේ. ඉතින්
ඔය අත්අඩංගුවට ගත්තා කියන තැනින් එහාට මොන වගේ සම්බන්ධතාවයක්ද තියෙන්නේ කියලාවත් ඔබතුමන්ගෙන් යම්කිසි විදියකට සීමාවක් ඇතුළේ හැටි බලාපොරොත්තු වෙනවා. මේ වෙද්දී මේ පොලිසිය අත්අඩංගුවට අරන් තියෙන්නේ පාස්කුවෙන් ත්‍රස්ත ප්‍රහාරයේ මහා මොලකම.
මේමයි අපි මේක විමර්ශනයක් නේ අපි කොතරම් විශාල ප්‍රමාණයක් අත්අඩංගුවට ගත්තත් මේ තවත් පුදුවේ පමණයි. ඒ මොහොගින් කර ප්‍රකාශ ප්‍රශ්න කිරීම මත වැඩිදුර විමර්ශනවල තීරණය කෙරෙයි ඔහුද මහා මොලකවරු තවත් කෙනෙක් ඉදිරියෙන් ඉන්නවා කියලා.
මොකද චෝදනාවලිය වශයෙන්
සිදු කරන ලද විමර්ශනවලදී අනාවරණය වූ අත්අඩංගුවට ගැනීමට තරම් ප්‍රමාණවත් කරුණු මත තමයි අත්අඩංගුවට ගැනීම සිද්ධ වෙලා තියෙන්නේ. ත්‍රස්තවාදයේ වැළැක්වීමේ తాවකාලික විධිවිධාන පනත යටතේ තමයි අත්අඩංගුවට අරගෙන තියෙන්නේ. අපි දන්නවා නීතිය අනුව එවැනි අත්අඩංගුවට ගැනීමක් කළොත් දින 3ක කාලයක් රඳවා ගන්න පුළුවන් පොලිස් අධිකාරිවරයෙකුගේ නියමයක් මත තමයි අත්අඩංගුවට ගැනීම කෙරෙන්නේ. ඒ කාලය ඇතුළතදී එළඹෙන සාක්ෂි මත තවදුරටත් විමර්ශනය කරගෙන යන්න අවශ්‍ය නම් රඳවාගෙන ඒ අනුව අපි නීතිය සඳහන් විධිවිධාන අනුව රඳවා ගැනීමේ නියෝගයක් ලබා ගන්න කටයුතු කරනවා. ඒක තීරණය වෙන්නේ විමර්ශනයේ මේ දින 3 ඇතුළතදී කරන විමර්ශන එළඹෙන සාක්ෂි මත ඉදිරියේදී අපරාධ පරීක්ෂණය සම්බන්ධයෙන් මහ ජනතාව විසින් දැනගත යුතු තොරතුරු නිවේදනය කරાવી අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම.
Meanwhile, the residence where former State Intelligence Service Director, retired Major General Sirasa Saleh was staying was inspected today by officers of the Criminal Investigation Department. Police stated that his mobile phone and laptop were taken into CID custody. A petition filed by former Army Intelligence Officer Colonel Kalu Madhumage requesting that he not be arrested was taken up in court today. In his petition, the petitioner asked for an order preventing the Criminal Investigation Department from arresting him in connection with the Easter Sunday terror attacks. The petition was heard before Court of Appeal President Justice Rohanta Abe Surya and Justice Priyantha Fernando. Further consideration of the petition has been scheduled for the 24th of March.
The Court of Appeal ordered that 2 petitions filed by Avant-Garde Maritime Services and its employees be dismissed without examination. The petitions had been filed seeking a writ order nullifying a directive issued by the Secretary of Defence instructing the removal of the weapon storage facilities operated by Avant-Garde Maritime Services from naval premises.
The order was issued by a bench of the Court of Appeal consisting of President of the Court of Appeal Justice Rohantha Abesoria and Justice Priyantha Fernando. The petitioners stated that the Defence Secretary had issued a letter following a decision made on the 28th of August last year instructing the removal of the armories maintained within naval bases in Colombo, Galle and Trincomalee. According to the petitions, the letter had notified them to remove the said weapon storage facilities on or before the 28th of November. After considering the submissions presented by all parties, the Court of Appeal ordered today that the two petitions be dismissed without being taken up for hearing. Do you remember? The 6th of October 2015, the floating armory operated by Avant Garde was taken over by security forces located 12 nautical miles off the Galle port. Accusations emerged that the Avant Garde operation deprived the government of significant revenue previously earned through the Navy's services to maritime security companies. It is revealed that Avant Garde allegedly used the resources of Lanka Security Company to run its private operations. The Presidential Commission of Inquiry into Serious Fraud and Corruption begins investigations into these transactions. Multiple linked accounts are discovered between the two companies and allegations surface that Avant Garde used Lanka firearms. Allegations also state that Avant Garde chairman paid Palitha Fernando a bribe of 3.55 million rupees to continue business operations. Following an investigation by the Bribery Commission, the High Court indicts Avant Garde chairman Nisanka Senadipati and Palitha Fernando. Accusations claim that granting approval to Avant Garde to operate a floating armory between 2012 and 2015 cost the state a loss of 11.4 billion rupees. In 2018, the Court of Appeal issues a restraining order informing the Colombo Magistrates Court to halt proceedings in the Avant Garde case filed against the accused. President Maithripala Sirisena orders the suspension of Avant Garde operations and directs that all its assigned tasks be transferred to the Sri Lanka Navy. The Attorney General instructs the police to immediately arrest Avant Garde chairman Nisanka Senadipati and 4 other suspects connected to the floating armory. On the 16th of October 2019, upon his arrival from Singapore, Avant Garde chairman Nisanka Senadipati is arrested at the Kattunayake airport. The Attorney General files cases against 13 accused, including Senadipati, under 7,573 charges related to operating a floating armory.
Do you remember
how today's opposition spoke about Avant Garde back then?
තෙම අවිගබඩාව ගාලු ආරය ස්ථානගත කිරීම ලබා දුන් අනුමැතියකට අදාළ ලියකියවිලි ආරක්ෂක අමාත්‍යාංශයේ සතුව නොමැත. එම පාවෙන අවිගබඩාවේ අවි සඳහා ඇත්තේ එම අවි අයත් රටවලින් නිකුත් කරන ලද බලපත්‍ර වන අතර එම අවි නාවික හමුදාවේ අධීක්ෂණය යටතේ බාර ගැනීම හා නිකුත් කිරීම සිදු කරනු ඇත. පාවෙන අවිගබඩාවේ ගබඩා කර ඇති අවි නිකුත් කිරීම සම්බන්ධයෙන් ආරක්ෂක අමාත්‍යාංශයේ අවසරයක් ලබා දීම සිදු කර නොමැත.
Do you remember
මේ රත්නා ලංකා ආයතනයයි ඇවන්ගාඩ් ආයතනයයි ආරක්ෂක අමාත්‍යාංශයයි මේ තුන් කොට්ටාසෙම එකතු වෙලා අනවශ්‍ය ව්‍යාපෘතියක් ක්‍රියාත්මක කරනවා. මම විශ්වාස කරනවා ප්‍රජාතන්ත්‍රවාදයට මරු පහරක් එල්ල වුණා. මොකද රටක ආරක්ෂක අංශය කරන රාජකාරිය සීමා විය යුත්තේ ඒ ආරක්ෂක ශේෂ්ත්‍රයට පමණයි. මුළු ජන සමාජයම අර මුහුදු කොල්ලකරුවන් මෙල්ල කිරීමේ ව්‍යාපෘතිය හරහා යම් මට්ටමක මිලිටරිකරණයකට පහුගිය කාලේ ලක් වුණා.
The Sri Lanka Navy held a special media briefing to clarify matters related to these developments.
2009 සැප්තැම්බර් 10 හෝ ඊට ආසන්න කාලවකවානුවකදී
Around the 10th of September 2009 or during that period, the Sri Lanka Navy began providing maritime security services by facilitating the storage and transport of foreign weapons and equipment needed by armed maritime security personnel on board merchant vessels. All revenue earned through these operations was directed to the government of Sri Lanka, and our actions were carried out in accordance with internationally accepted legal standards. During the periods from 2012 to 2015, then again again from November 2015 to 2021 and subsequently from September 2021 to November 2025, these maritime security activities were conducted as a public-private joint venture based on decisions and instructions issued by the administrations in power at the time. Under this arrangement, a private company paid only a very small percentage of its earnings received in US dollars in local currency to the Navy. There were also instances where these payments were withheld. Transporting and storing foreign weapons and equipment are high-risk operations. Conducting such activities under a public-private joint venture posed potential threats to national security. Even more concerning is that 782 million rupees due to the Navy for services provided remains unpaid by the private partner.
එකී පෞද්ගලික පාර්ශ්වය විසින් මේ දක්වාම ගෙවීම් සිදු කළ නැතුව ඒක පැහැර හැරලක් තියෙනවා.
ශ්‍රී ලංකා නායක හමුදාවට මේ නැවත වාරයක් ලබා දුන්න නීත්‍යානුකූල ප්‍රවේශයට අනුව
Since the Navy was reinstated with full legal authority to handle these operations from the 3rd of October last year up to today, 25th of February, we have completed 404 independent maritime security missions. Through these 404 missions, the Navy earned more than $699,000 US dollars in foreign exchange, which has been directly remitted to the government in support of national interests and the economy.
ඒ විදේශීය විනිමය ජාතික සුබසිද්ධිය සහ ආර්ථිකය වෙනුවෙන් රජය වෙත ලබා දීමටත්
A group of representatives from opposition political parties united under the name Mahajana Handa met with United National Party leader Ranil Wickremesinghe this morning.
The meeting took place at the United National Party office located at Flower Road, Colombo. Primary focus was placed on a union among opposition party leaders to work in cooperation. A group including Anurapriya Darshanayapa, G.L. Piris, Mahinda Amaravira, Asanka Navaratna, Premnath Sidolavatta and Sugishwara Bandara joined this discussion. Sagala Ratnayaka, Talatata Kurla and Bajira Bewatana joined the discussion representing the United National Party.
We are bound to protect the multi-party democratic system. We are here on that agreement. Therefore, according to that agreement, we will protect this methodology. Today, threats have arisen against it. We have to face these threats. We have seen the damage caused to various individuals. They are trying to involve everyone in various lawsuits by leveling different allegations. Therefore, let us act together for this. I state that it is with the full support of my party that we can work together. The people of this country should have the opportunity to choose what is good and what is bad, what we accept and what we reject. That methodology is disappearing. Our culture is being forgotten. Therefore, I wish to express that you have this support for every step you take regarding this matter. According to the situation in our country, there is a dire need. As different groups, we have separate identities. As he mentioned, the goal is to secure the democratic culture that we have protected for a long time. What is the only thing being done? Every week, someone is being put in jail. This is what is being introduced. That is why we took these steps. After this, all opposition groups have to work together regarding this common connection. Otherwise, if we work divided and scattered as an opposition, there is no way at all that we will be able to achieve our objectives.
After the meeting, the group briefed journalists regarding the agreements reached.
As representatives of major parties, we have started an organization called Mahajana Handa. Therefore, on its behalf, we believe that all political parties should reach a consensus to establish democracy, the multi-party system and the freedom that everyone in this country is accustomed to. For that purpose, we first met the leader of the opposition, Sajith Premadasa. Secondly, we met Nama Rajapaksa. Today, we are meeting former President Ranil Wickremesinghe for that cause. We will be going towards other political parties as well.
අනිකුත් දේශපාලන පක්ෂ කරත් අපි යනවා. ජනතාව වෙනුවෙන් තමයි අපි මේ හඬක් නගන්නේ. ඒ කියන්නේ මහජන හඬ කියලා අපි කියන්නේ. මහජනතාවගේ හඬ අපි නගනවා. අපි මේ වෙනුවෙන් කැප වෙලා කටයුතු කරනවා. අපි මේ ආණ්ඩුව වටන්න අපිට ඕනේ නැහැ. ආණ්ඩුව කරගෙන යන්න. අවුරුදු 5කට බලය දුන්නානේ. හැබැයි ඒගොල්ලෝ වට්ට ගන්නව නම් අපිට කරන්න දෙයක්වත් නැtei කියන එක තමයි කියන්නේ. වට්ටගත්තොත් කවුද බාරගන්නේ? බාරගන්න ඕන තරම් කට්ටිය ඉන්නේ. දැන් ජනතාවටම තේරෙනවනේ අත්දැකීම් තියෙන කට්ටියකට තමයි මේක කරගන්න පුළුවන් වෙන්නේ කියලා කියනවනේ. ඉතින් අලුත් කට්ටියකට දුන්නානේ. ඒක ජනතාව තීන්දුව කරයි කවුද කියලා.
කියන්නේ මේක මේ අයට අත්දැකීම් නැද්ද?
අත්දැකීම් තියෙනවා නම් මෙහෙම වෙනවා.
Meanwhile, a group of academics yesterday issued a statement calling for assurances that Professor Maitri Vikramasinghe, the wife of Ranil Vikramasinghe, will not be subjected to unnecessary harassment, intimidation or damage to her reputation during the ongoing investigative proceedings.
This follows a notice recently issued to Professor Vikramasinghe requesting her appearance before the Financial Crimes Investigation Unit of the Criminal Investigation Department. The request concerns an ongoing case against the former President Ranil Vikramasinghe over the alleged use of public funds to attend an event at the University of Wolverhampton. The statement, signed by academics and professionals, urged authorities to ensure that individuals such as Professor Maitri Vikramasinghe are protected from undue pressure, fear or reputational harm during the investigation. It also called for safeguarding her professional independence, dignity and long-standing academic record. More than 50 individuals, including Deshamani Radhika Kumaraswamy, Dr. Nirmalika Fernando, Dr. Subhangi Herath, Dr. Renuka Patirana and former MP Ferial Ashraf are signatories to the statement. Minister K.D. Lalkantha says that the law of the country applies equally to everyone.
ජනාධිපති රනිල් වික්‍රමසිංහ මහතාගේ බිරිඳ මහාචාර්ය මෛත්‍රී වික්‍රමසිංහ මුල්‍ය ප්‍රාදර්ශයෙන් ප්‍රකාශ ලබා ගැනීමට එන්න කියලා පැමිණිලි ආරාධනා කරලා තියෙනවා. ඒ අවස්ථාවේදී ඒකාබද්ධ සහයෝගිතා මාධ්‍ය නිවේදනයක් ඉක්මොත් කරලා තියෙනවා සමාජ ක්‍රියාකාරී එයාට අනීතික බලපෑම් කරන්න එපා, හිංසා කරන්න එපා, එයා කීර්ති නාමයට අපහාස කරන්න එපා කියලා. මොකද්ද මේ සම්මාදයෙන් උත්මත කියන්නේ?
නැති යම්කිසි කාරණයකට යම්කිසි ආයතනයකට ගිහිල්ලා
No, well, going to an institution to provide a statement regarding a certain matter is not an issue for anyone's reputation. Even the former president Ranil Vikramasinghe went to give a statement. Therefore, the law of this country is the same for everyone. There are no special privileged people here. Everyone is a citizen. State institutions, whether it's the police, the CID or various other bodies, can summon anyone if necessary to record a statement. Cooperating with that is the responsibility of all citizens, whether they are responsible men or women.
වගකීම් සම්පන්න කාන්තාවන්ගේ පිරිමින්ගේ කාගෙත් පුරවැසියන්ගේ වගකීම.
Do you remember
Shirani Bandaranaike, the former Chief Justice who was unjustly removed from office due to political reasons? Shirani Bandaranaike was appointed as the 43rd Chief Justice of Sri Lanka on the 18th of May 2011. She was the first woman to ever hold that position. Her academic and professional credentials were extraordinary. In 1980, she obtained her Bachelor of Laws LLB with honours. In 1983, she obtained her Master of Philosophy in Law. In 1986, she obtained her PhD in Law from the University of London. She served as a senior lecturer at the Faculty of Law, University of Colombo. In 1987, she served as the head of the Department of Law. In 1992, she served as the Dean of the Faculty of Law. In 1993, she served as the Associate Professor of Law at the University of Colombo and served as the Acting Vice-Chancellor on several occasions. Furthermore, as a member of the Judicial Service Commission, it is noteworthy that she was the Acting Chief Justice of the country 11 times before her permanent appointment.
What happened to someone as qualified as Shirani Bandaranaike?
In late 2012, allegations surfaced regarding her activities and asset declarations. At that time, the government was led by Mahinda Rajapaksa.
Do you remember?
On the 1st of November 2012, less than a year and a half after her appointment, an impeachment motion consisting of 14 charges signed by 117 government MPs was handed over to the Speaker. In a very short period, on the 11th of January 2013, the impeachment was passed by a majority vote.
What was the real reason behind this pressure?
It is no secret that several of her rulings, including interpretations of the 18th Amendment and the Divinagama Bill, earned the displeasure of the then rulers. The immediate trigger for the impeachment was her ruling on the Divinaguma bill. Her bench ruled that because the bill granted unlimited powers to the central government, it required the approval of all 9 provincial councils or a national referendum before being passed. This was the primary reason for the government's resentment. Although the Supreme Court and the Court of Appeal ruled that the impeachment process against Shirani Bandaranayake was illegal, the government of the day refused to accept those rulings. Even the International Commission of Jurists, or ICJ, described it as a direct blow to the independence of the judiciary. Ultimately, the rulers of that era left a black mark on the country by removing a Chief Justice in such a manner. This is how the rulers of our country once turned the law into lawlessness. In those moments, they did not consider professionalism or the fact that she was a woman. The law should be equal for everyone. It is the rulers who governed this country for the last 70 years who believed the law should bend before titles, politics, or professions. The people's stance is clear. Everyone must be equal before the law. For your attention.
The Colombo High Court ordered today that Daisy Forrest, the grandmother of Yoshita Rajapaksa, son of former President Mahinda Rajapaksa, be acquitted and released from the case filed against her under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act. Following this decision, the prosecution will proceed with the case solely against the first defendant, Yoshita Rajapaksa. A revised indictment will be filed against him to continue the legal proceedings.
The case against Yoshita Rajapaksa and his grandmother Daisy Forrest, filed by the Attorney General under the Prevention of Money Laundering Act for the alleged illegal acquisition of assets and property worth nearly 73 million rupees, was called today before High Court Judge Udesh Ranatunga. During the proceedings, Additional Solicitor General Janaka Bandara, appearing for the Attorney General, presented a special psychiatric report obtained through the Colombo Judicial Medical Officer. This report was requested following a court order on the 26th of November to determine if Daisy Forrest was mentally fit to stand trial. The Additional Solicitor General stated that according to the medical board's report, Daisy Forrest does not possess the mental capacity required to undergo judicial proceedings. Consequently, it was announced that she would be acquitted of the indictments. Excerpt.
Your Honour, under these circumstances, the Attorney General has no alternative but to acquit the second defendant of counts 1 and 3 in the indictment and proceed with the case against the first defendant only. Therefore, she is being acquitted of counts 1 and 3. We will take steps to file a revised indictment against the first defendant on the next court date. Accordingly, Your Honour, the case will continue against the first defendant alone.
The Additional Solicitor General also requested the court to issue notices to Madhuka Veerasinghe, who has been granted legal guardianship of Daisy Forrest's property by the Nukeguda District Court, and her personal security officer Anoma Balibita to appear in court. After considering the facts presented, the judge issued notices to the relevant individuals and ordered the case to be called for a pre-trial conference on the 27th of March at 1:30 p.m.
Energy Mafia.
The ruling party responded to allegations regarding coal imports during the Sirasa Satana program yesterday.
Since 2011, coal has been consistently imported by a company authorized through a cabinet paper, bypassing the standard procurement process. Coal purchases were being done outside of the procurement framework. Even in the years 2023 and 2024, it was the same. Purchases happened outside of procurement. However, we are now conducting coal purchases strictly within the formal procurement process. There was a company that previously had been supplying coal outside the procurement process based on cabinet decisions. That company lost the contract under the current procurement procedure. Leveraging its political connections, that company has now triggered a massive national conversation regarding the coal issue. We acknowledge there are numerous concerns here. That is why we have appointed a separate investigative committee consisting of professors and scholars from the University of Moratuwa and other experts experts with specialized knowledge in this field. There are issues specifically regarding lab reports, so we need to determine if there are any manipulation occurring or if there is a genuine problem with low quality coal. If this contract needs to be terminated, we will terminate it. But the government must have legal cover to do so. We cannot be in a position where we have to pay compensation later. What we must clearly understand is that if this current contract is cancelled, the entity waiting in line to take it over is the same one that previously held the contract outside of the procurement process. It is useless to simply claim there is fraud or corruption without pointing out exactly where the procurement process failed. We have a suspicion regarding these companies, which is exactly why we spoke out against it.
ඉතින් අපිට සැකයක් තියෙනවා මේ සමාගම් වලින් අපි එකනේ විරුද්ධව ප්‍රකාශ කළා.
අපි කිසිම සමාගමක් විශේෂ කරලා සලකලා නැහැ.
We have not given special treatment to any company. Conflicts of interest are not an issue for us. If these companies have supplied harmful or unsuitable coal, the necessary recoveries will be made from those companies strictly according to the terms and conditions. I must highlight this clearly. If the government has incurred any loss due to this, it will not be passed on to the public. I feel there are several parties involved here. The first party consists of those representing the company that continuously secured the tender in the past but failed to secure the tender under the new government, resulting in a massive loss for them. Are these two people appearing on behalf of that company, or are they trying to create an opinion among the public that coal imports are bad and push towards diesel purchases? So are they speaking on behalf of these diesel merchants? Even if we didn't import, they would still find fault.
වෙනද මෙයාලා පෙනී සිටින්නේ.
Energy Mafia. Newsfirst with the people.
Sampath Manamperi, who was kept under detention orders, has been remanded until the 4th of March.
The police informed the court that the investigations into the arrest of Sampath Manamperi in connection with the possession of 2 containers containing the drug ice have now been completed. Police further stated that the forensic reports have now been received, and according to those reports, 15 kilograms and 19 grams of ice were found in the said containers. Organised criminals Thambili Lahiru and Bakho Saman, who are currently in custody in connection with this incident, were produced before courts today by the police. The investigating officers informed the court that they will be named as suspects in this case in the future. The 13 cases filed by the Mitheniya police against Thambili Lahiru, as well as 6 cases filed against the same suspect by the Veerakatiya police, were adjourned until the 11th of March, when they were taken up before the Walasmulla magistrate today. The police informed the court today that organised criminals Kehilbadra Padme and Panaduru Nilanga will also be produced before the court in the near future in connection with this incident.
The other gunman allegedly involved in the assassination of a lawyer and his wife, who were inside a car near a supermarket in Akureguda, has been taken into custody. The Monaragala police have successfully apprehended 3 suspects, including a gunman, while they were hiding in a deserted house in the Nakkala Tambatta area of Monaragala. It has been revealed that the second gunman arrested in this operation is a former officer of the Sri Lankan Navy. One of the shooters involved in the assassination had been arrested previously, while 2 individuals who transported the firearms and another individual who coordinated the logistics were also taken into police custody recently. Attorney Buddhika Mallavarachi and his wife were fatally shot in Akureguda, Thalangama on the 13th of February. Investigations have now confirmed that the shooting was orchestrated by the organised criminal known as Karandeniya Sudha. Furthermore, it has come to light that the slain lawyer had previously served as the legal representative for Karandeniya Sudha in several of his ongoing court cases.
කලින් විමර්ශනයකට කරුණු එළදෙනවා ඒගොල්ලෝ අම්පිටියේ ඉඳලා නතර වෙලා තියෙනවා යම්කිසි පාතාල නායකයෙක් හදපු විතර ඒකයි අම්පිසි පොලිසිය ඉරම් නිලධාරියෙක් අහලා කියලා ඒ කරුණුත් එක්ක ඒතකොට මේව සම්බන්ධ වෙනකොට දැනට පේනවා
එවන් කරුණක් අපිට තොරතුරක් ලැබිලා තියෙනවා ඊට පස්සේ දැන් අද මේ අතනගත සැකකරුවේ ඉදිරි මේ අපිට නෝර ප්‍රදේශ සම්බන්ධ අපිට තොරතුරක් ලැබිලා තියෙනවා ඒ සම්බන්ධ විමර්ශන කරමින් පවතිනවා නමුත් මේ සැකකරු මේ අපරාධයේ මෙහෙය පුද්ගලයා එක් පුද්ගලෙක් දැනට ලංකාවේ පදිංචි නැහැ. අපිට ඔහු අත්අඩංගුව ගන්නවත් ඔය ප්‍රශ්න කරන තම අවස්ථාවක් ලැබුණේ නැහැ. මම හිතන්නේ ඉදිරියේදී ඔබ අහපු ප්‍රශ්නට අපේ උත්තරයක් ලැබෙයි කියලා මම තරම් විශ්වාස කරනවා.
කරන්නේ සුද්දා සාම්පිතේ නිවස කරන්නේ සුද්දා විසින් දේශපාලන දෙයක් මොකක්ද හරි. එහෙම නැත්නම් ඒක පොලිස් පෙරේට හදන බව. තමයි සමහර වාර්තා
අම්පිරි නිවස ගැනත් ඔබ කිව්ව ආකාරයට මම අපි බැඳලා ඉන්න මහජන හරිතොරතුරු ලබා දෙන්න. ඒ තොරතුරු අපිට තියෙනවා. නමුත් අපිට මේක සියසින් දැකලා තහවුරු කරන්න තාක්තෙක් අපිට කියනවා නිශ්චිතව මේයි කියලා. හරි නමුත් තොරතුරු තියෙනවා.
ඒක අසාල දේශපාලන තෙන්නකොත් මහතාගේ ප්‍රකාශ සටහන් කරලා තියෙනවා.
තාම නෑ. දැනට දේශපාලන තෙන්නකොත් මහතාගේ ප්‍රකාශ තහවුරු කරන්න අවස්ථාවක් අපිට අවශ්‍ය වුණේ නැහැ මේ දක්වාම ඉදිරි සමාජයට කෙරේ.
Newsfirst with the people.
A media briefing was held today at the Government Information Department to raise awareness about Sri Lanka's digital transformation as well as development projects planned for the year 2026.
We hope to introduce two new institutions through two bills. One is the National Diversity Act. Through that, we need to establish a Diversity Economic Authority. We also hope to bring the Cybersecurity Act. We hope to bring both these bills within this year and establish both these authorities. In the first year of our government coming into power, we have established a very good platform in the country to implement this digital program. One of the main ones is the GovPay service. From here, we hope to go beyond this and move into QR payments. That means payments made using QR without any additional cost to our people. Another major undertaking is this digital ID. By the third or fourth quarter of this year, we plan to introduce the first digital ID. We are now preparing and carrying out all the work to issue this digital ID card. You can connect to an institution via the internet and request what you need from there. For example, a passport. After that, the other documents you need, whether it be a birth certificate or a police certificate, a ground nilladari certificate, can be obtained thereafter. The infrastructure provides a method to automatically bring them to one place through these data exchange systems. Now we are developing all of these infrastructure facilities parallelly. What it means is that any certificate and any permit can be issued as a QR.
QR එකක් හැටියට නිකුත් කරන්න පුළුවන්. දන්නවා මේ ඇත්තටදී
We know that there was some discussion about whether school children should be restricted from using the internet. Should social media be restricted? But we had a small discussion. The common consensus of the Honorable Prime Minister, the Minister of Mass Media and other external stakeholders and the Ministry of Education officials is that we should use the internet and digitalization as an opportunity. We need to take the necessary policy and technical measures to ensure the necessary safeguards are in place. Now we are making the necessary arrangements and investments for that. Accordingly, we are working to provide the opportunity for all school students and teachers to receive the benefits of this digitalization.
අවස්ථාව අපි ලබා දීමට කටයුතු කරනවා.
Beyond safeguarding our skies, they stand ready to shield our nation. When disaster strikes and every moment becomes critical, they transform into the first surge of hope for our people. This is the third mission of Sri Lanka's Sky Warriors.
When disaster strikes, every second counts.
Sri Lankan Sky Warriors.
We have witnessed about how the Sri Lanka Air Force quickly responds to any disaster situation in Sri Lanka, especially during a landslide situation, especially during a flood situation, to save the lives of the people. And right now, we are witnessing a live demonstration about how they are training to do it.
The Sri Lanka Air Force Disaster Management Training Center was first established in 2011 with one single mission: to prepare airmen and women to save lives in times of disasters. In 2024, the facility entered a new chapter. It was re-established as the Disaster Management Training School in Digana in the Kandy district. Every scenario is designed to simulate real-life emergencies, and this is how they are trained to respond to a landslide situation. In another exercise, they demonstrate how to rescue a person who had fallen into a ravine using rope rescue techniques. And when disaster strikes in the form of a collapsed building, this is how they are trained to respond.
පාඨමාලාවන් ශ්‍රී ලංකා ගුවන් හමුදාවේ නිලධාරීන් සහ ගුවන් බටයන්ටද ශ්‍රී ලංකා යුද්ධ හමුදාවේ නිලධාරීන් සහ සෙසු නිලයන්ටද ශ්‍රී ලංකා නාවික හමුදාවේ නිලධාරීන්ට සහ නාවික බටයන්ට සහ පොලිස් විශේෂකාරී බලකායේ නිලධාරීන්ට සිදු කරනවා. රටේ සිද්ධ වෙන ඕනෑම හදිසි අවස්ථාවකදී ගොඩබිමින් හෝ ගුවනින් ගොස් ඒ ආපදාවට ලක්විච්ච පුද්ගලයන් සහ දේපල බේරා ගැනීමට අවශ්‍ය කටයුතු සිදු කිරීම.
Their mission is clear. They are trained, they are prepared, they are battle ready. For them, every second counts, every decision matters. On standby 24 hours a day, they stand ready to serve the nation and protect lives when disaster strikes.
Sri Lanka's aircraft technicians community held its annual gathering yesterday.
Rentals and Wings annual get-together event organized by the Sri Lankan Airlines Aircraft Technicians Association aimed at team building and enhancing cooperation among the aircraft technicians and the aircraft community was held yesterday. KNM Kumarasinghe, additional secretary to the president, was present at the event. The event also saw the presence of chairman of the Civil Aviation Authority of Sri Lanka, senior management of the Sri Lankan Airlines and fellow members of the association. The event was held to strengthen the unity among aircraft technicians, the aircraft community and member staff of the association. The event celebrated the spirit and support extended by the aircraft technicians of Sri Lanka, which plays a key role in the success of aircraft and aerospace operations.
The latest publication of the Bandaranaike Centre for International Studies, titled Reimagining International Relations from a Global South, was launched in Colombo.
Reimagining International Relations from a Global South, the latest publication of the Bandaranaike Centre for International Studies, was launched in the presence of Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya. Authored by Emeritus Professor Gamini Kiravella, a former senior professor of history at the University of Peradeniya and a member of the BCIS Board of Management and Academic Affairs, the book challenges conventional theories of international relations whilst offering a fresh interpretation grounded in the experiences and perspectives of countries in the Global South.
I think a perspective from the Global South forces us to ask whether this international regime and a rules-based order, as important as it is and as much as we have subscribed to it, whether that rules-based, who did that rules-based order serve even when we thought that it was functioning well? Whose interests were represented in that rules-based order? So and this has also often been talked about and discussed, particularly from a cultural relativist point of view, that different cultures offer a different way of thinking about all of this. But I have often found that that particular argument can also be extremely limiting if we start thinking of very sort of, culturally specific kinds of ways of addressing international norms or international governance systems. Then offering an argument of cultural specificity can sometimes also be, there's somewhat of a tension between this. How can you also subscribe to an international rules-based order and also say that specific cultures and have specific ways of understanding and therefore rules don't apply in the same way to everyone? This argument, I think there's a tension within this discourse as well, necessary, but one that is complex, therefore. So Professor Kiravella invites us, therefore, to reimagine international relations as a genuinely plural field.
Author of the book, Emeritus Professor Gamini Kiravella, addressed the gathering.
This publication of this book marks another step forward in advancing the mission of BCIS, established in 1974 by then Prime Minister Sirimao Bandaranaike. The center was conceived as educational arm of the Bandaranaike Memorial National Foundation, BMNF. Its purpose has been clear from very beginning. First, to promote the systematic study of international relations. Two, to advance policy-oriented research. Three, to foster informed public discourse on global affairs from distinctly Sri Lankan perspective. It must be emphasized that the vision of BCIS is closely linked with the mission of BMICH. BMICH was a gift from China to the people of Sri Lanka. From the very beginning, there was a strong conviction that this national asset should serve the public good, broader public good. BCIS was established to serve one aspect of this mission, the education and building public awareness in IR, in global affairs. Over last 5 decades, BCIS has consistently advanced IR education and research in pursuit of this mission. This work dedicated to the memory of late Professor P.V.J. Jayasekara, teacher, mentor, colleague, and a friend who encouraged me to integrate my historical training with international relations in my doctoral studies. I miss you dearly, sir, dear sir, in this hour.
Among those in attendance were BCIS chairperson and former President Chandrika Bandaranaike Kumaratunga, Deputy Minister of Media Dr. Kaushalya Aryaratna, members of the diplomatic community, representatives of the Bandaranaike National Memorial Foundation, members of the BCIS Governing Board, as well as invited scholars and professionals.
Portugal has agreed to a joint committee on returning Sri Lanka's historical artifacts.
Portugal has agreed to establish a joint committee to conduct preliminary studies on returning Sri Lanka's historical and culturally valuable artifacts currently held in Portugal. The commitment was announced by Portuguese Foreign Minister Paulo Rangel during an official meeting with Minister of Foreign Affairs, Foreign Employment and Tourism Vijitha Herath at the Ministry of Foreign Affairs. Responding to Minister Herath's proposal on the reinstitution of artifacts taken from Sri Lanka during the period of Portuguese rule, Minister Rangel said the request was reasonable and confirmed his agreement to set up a joint committee to initiate the required study. Both ministers also noted the importance of activating the existing cultural agreement between the two countries to begin formal discussions on the matter. Minister Herath also raised concerns over difficulties faced by Sri Lankans who are required to travel to New Delhi to obtain visas for Portugal. He proposed creating a more convenient mechanism to ease this process. Minister Rangel pledged to examine the issue. The meeting further focused on strengthening cultural and people-to-people ties, taking into account the long-standing historical relationship between the two countries. The ministers discussed expanding cooperation in investment, trade and tourism, including renewable energy, and agreed to develop a structured work plan to advance these areas. Both sides emphasized the importance of initiating a political dialogue mechanism to strengthen engagement across all sectors. They also held discussions on regional and global matters of mutual significance, agreeing to maintain ongoing cooperation at the United Nations. During the talks, Minister Herath expressed Sri Lanka's gratitude for the support extended by Portugal following the recent Ditwa cyclone, particularly in providing emergency relief. He noted that Sri Lanka looks forward to continued assistance from Portugal for reconstruction efforts.
Political leaders and civil society activists gathered to mark the first anniversary of the passing of veteran journalist Victor Ivan, honoring his legacy as a relentless critic of institutional power.
A memorial event was held yesterday to commemorate the first anniversary of the passing of Victor Ivan, the veteran journalist, editor and social critic. The gathering marked the first anniversary of his passing on the 19th of January 2025 at the age of 75. The event served as a reflective space for colleagues and intellectuals to discuss Ivan's transformative impact on the Sri Lankan landscape.
His legal battles rewrote the laws under which journalism is practiced in the country. But the most important things he leaves behind cannot be measured in words or legislation. He leaves behind a standard, a demonstration lived out over decades, a real personal cost of what journalism can be when it refuses to flinch. When it chooses evidence over access, accountability over comfort, the public interest over the interest of the powerful. He leaves behind a generation of journalists who learn from watching him. The truth-telling is not merely a professional skill, it's a moral commitment, a calling, a promise made implicitly to every reader who speaks on the paper and trusts that the person who wrote it was trying to tell the truth. Victor Ivan was 75 years old when he died. He had lived as a rebel, as a prisoner, as a thinker, as a writer, as an editor.
The event was also attended by former Presidents Maithripala Sirisena and Ranil Wickremesinghe, former Speaker Karu Jayasuriya, former and current MPs including Vasudeva Nanayakkara, G.L. Piris and Eran Wickremaratne, along with trade union activists and representatives of civil society organizations.
US President Donald Trump has delivered his 2026 State of the Union, beating his own record for the longest annual address. He touted the economy, touched on Iran, Venezuela and other global affairs, and took jabs at Democrats.
US President Donald Trump spoke for just under 1 hour and 40 minutes, breaking his own record for the longest State of the Union address. Trump called a recent Supreme Court ruling striking down a larger swathe of his tariff regime unfortunate, but said he would press forward with tariffs under alternative statutes without consulting Congress.
One of the primary reasons for our country's stunning economic turnaround, the biggest in history, where the Dow Jones broke 50,000 4 years ahead of schedule, and the S&P hit 7,000, where it wasn't supposed to do it for many years, were tariffs. I used these tariffs, took in hundreds of billions of dollars to make great deals for our country, both economically and on a national security basis. Everything was working well. Countries that were ripping us off for decades are now paying us hundreds of billions of dollars. They were ripping us so badly, you all know that. Everybody knows it. Even the Democrats know it. They just don't want to say it. And yet these countries are now happy, and so are we. We made deals. The deals are all done. And they're happy. They're not making money like they used to, but we're making a lot of money. There was no inflation, tremendous growth, and the big story was how Donald Trump called the economy correctly, and 22 Nobel Prize winners in economics didn't. They got it totally wrong. They got it really wrong. And then just 4 days ago, an unfortunate ruling from the United States Supreme Court. It just came down. It came down. Very unfortunate ruling. But the good news is that almost all countries and corporations want to keep the deal that they already made, right, Scott? Knowing that the legal power that I, as president, have to make a new deal could be far worse for them, and therefore they will continue to work along the same successful path that we had negotiated before the Supreme Court's unfortunate involvement. Many of the wars I settled was because of the threat of tariffs. I wouldn't have been able to settle them without. Will remain in place under fully approved and tested alternative legal statutes. And they have been tested for a long time. And as time goes by, I believe the tariffs paid for by foreign countries will, like in the past, substantially replace the modern-day system of income tax, taking a great financial burden off the people that I love.
The president's intentions regarding a possible attack on Iran remains unclear, with Trump waiting until near the end of his speech to mention relations with the country. He has frequently threatened with military strikes over the last several weeks. Trump repeated previous claims that the US obliterated Iran's nuclear program during strikes in June and stated that Tehran is developing missiles capable of striking the US, a claim for which he offered no evidence.
As president, I will make peace wherever I can, but I will never hesitate to confront threats to America wherever we must. That's why in a breakthrough operation last June, the United States military obliterated Iran's nuclear weapons program with an attack on Iranian soil known as Operation Midnight Hammer. For decades, it had been the policy of the United States never to allow Iran to obtain a nuclear weapon. Many decades. Since they seized control of that proud nation 47 years ago, the regime and its murderous proxies have spread nothing but terrorism and death and hate. They've killed and maimed thousands of American service members and hundreds of thousands and even millions of people with what's called roadside bombs. They were the kings of the roadside bomb. And we took out Soleimani. I did that during my first term. Had a huge impact. He was the father of the roadside bomb. And just over the last couple of months with the protests, they've killed at least, it looks like, 32,000 protests. 32,000 protesters in their own country. They've already developed missiles that can threaten Europe and our bases overseas, and they're working to build missiles that will soon reach the United States of America. They want to make a deal, but we haven't heard those secret words. We will never have a nuclear weapon. My preference is to solve this problem through diplomacy. But one thing is certain, I will never allow the world's #1 sponsor of terror, which they are by far, to have a nuclear weapon. Can't let that happen.
Trump claimed he made a dead country into the hottest in the world.
A short time ago, we were a dead country. Now we are the hottest country anywhere in the world, the hottest. As thousands of new businesses are forming and factories, plants, and laboratories are being built, we have added 70,000 new construction jobs in just a very short period of time. As I say tonight, members of Congress, the state of our union is strong. Our country is winning again. In fact, we're winning so much that we really don't know what to do about it. People are asking me, please, Mr. President, we're winning too much. We can't take it anymore. We're not used to winning in our country. Until you came along, we're just always losing, but now we're winning too much. And I say, no, you're going to win again. You're going to win big. You're going to win bigger than ever.
Democratic Representative Al Green was escorted out of the House chamber during President Donald Trump's State of the Union address after holding up a sign reading, quote-unquote, "Black people are not apes." He was protesting Trump's now-deleted social post of a racist video depicting former President Barack Obama and former First Lady Michelle Obama as apes in the jungle.
Thank you.
A fact check by CNN reports that Trump falsely claimed that US had secured $18 trillion in investments. Trump repeated his regular false claim that he had secured $18 trillion in investments in the United States since returning to office, saying, quote, "In 12 months, I secured commitments for more than $18 trillion pouring in from all over the globe," unquote. The fact check by CNN also mentions Trump's baseless claim about the economy. Trump claimed that he had inherited a stagnant economy from the Biden administration and that it is now roaring like never before. Though there is no firm definition of stagnant or roaring, the facts don't corroborate the suggestion that he has presided over a massive economic boom since returning to office in January 2025. CNN also mentions that Trump falsely claimed foreign countries are paying his tariffs. Trump repeated his regular false claim that tariffs are paid for by foreign countries. In fact, tariff payments are made by importers in the United States, not foreign countries, and those importers often pass on some of their costs to consumers. While foreign exporters may sometimes drop their prices to try to keep their products competitive, various analyses have found that the overwhelming majority of the costs of the tariffs Trump has imposed this term are being covered by a combination of US businesses and US consumers.
Sri Lanka is struggling in the must-win Super 8 encounter against New Zealand, currently being played at the R. Premadasa International Stadium in Colombo. Winning the toss, Sri Lanka invited New Zealand to bat first, while Sri Lanka managed to dismiss openers Tim Cypher and Finn Allen early in the innings. Sri Lanka managed to take wickets at regular intervals with Mahesh Deekshana and Dushmantha Chamira bagging 3 wickets each. At the second innings break after the 14th over, Sri Lanka had restricted the Kiwis for a formidable 90 runs for 6 wickets. However, thereafter Mitchell Santner hit a blistering 47 off 26 deliveries and partnered with Cole McConchie's unbeaten 31. The pair took New Zealand to a total of 168 runs for the loss of 7 wickets at the end of their allotted 20 overs. In response, Sri Lanka lost opener Pathum Nissanka on the very first ball of their innings. Halfway through their innings a little while ago, the Lankans were limping at 45 runs for the loss of 4 wickets, needing another 124 runs to clinch victory from the remaining 10 overs. Now, a short while ago, Sri Lanka were 59 runs for the loss of 6 wickets. And with that, we wrap up news for tonight.
Thank you for joining us. Good night.